Some words don't just hurt you. They change you completely. I'm sorry, Eliana, but your brother is my real priority right now. My mother says it in the middle of a hospital hallway. Not in a quiet corner. Not behind a closed door. Out in the open, with nurses passing by, with cousins and aunts standing nearby, with anyone who happens to walk past able to hear every word. My name is Eliana Bennett. I am 24 years old. I have just been told I have a serious heart condition that needs surgery within the week. The kind of news that makes your legs feel unsteady. The kind that makes you reach out for the nearest person and hold on. My mother is already reaching for her coat. My younger brother Marcus has a basketball showcase that weekend. Scouts from 4 universities. A once-in-a-lifetime chance, she tells me. She chooses him. Not privately. Not gently. Right there in the hallway, in front of everyone. And something inside me goes completely quiet. Not the quiet of sadness. The quiet of a decision being made. Mini cliffhanger, I would not fully understand what I had decided until 2 weeks later, when a stranger called with news that changed everything. To understand that hallway moment, you need to understand my whole life first. Marcus is 3 years younger than me. From the moment he was 12 and scored 40 points in a middle school game, he became the center of everything our family orbited around. My mother, Lorraine Bennett, does not just love Marcus. She wears his success like armor. She frames his trophies. She has a dedicated folder on her phone filled with nothing but his highlight videos. I graduated at the top of my biomedical engineering class. I finished my degree in 3.5 years. I had 2 internship offers before my final semester ended. The night I received my graduate program acceptance letter, my mother left dinner early to drive Marcus to a training session. She said she would celebrate with me later. Later never came. Her answer is always ready, "You're strong, Eliana. You'll manage. Marcus needs me more." I believed her for years. I thought being strong meant not needing anything from anyone. That hospital hallway teaches me how wrong I was. Because strength was never the reason she felt comfortable leaving me behind. It was simply easier. I sign my surgical consent form alone. The nurse who hands me the clipboard gives me a look, soft and careful, that tells me she overheard my mother in the hallway. She does not say anything. She just squeezes my shoulder once before walking away. That small gesture from a complete stranger nearly breaks something open in me that my mother's words did not. The surgery is 4 days later. I take a rideshare to the hospital. I check myself in. I change into a gown and lie in the pre-op room, staring at the ceiling while they prep the 4-line. I wake up in recovery with a tight feeling in my chest and a dry mouth. The chair beside my bed is empty. 1 notification on my phone. A text from my mother, "Marcus scored 32 points. So proud of him. How are you feeling?" I stare at that message for a long time. Then I type back 2 words, "I'm fine." I place the phone face down on the mattress and look at the empty chair again. I have spent my entire life auditioning for her love. Performing. Hoping the next accomplishment would be enough. Lying there alone, I make a quiet decision. I am done auditioning. 2 weeks after discharge, my phone rings from an unknown number. The man introduces himself as Daniel Hargrove. He is an estate attorney based in Charlotte. He speaks with the careful pace of someone who has delivered important news before and knows exactly how to manage it. He tells me my grandfather has passed away. My father's father. I sit down. I barely know this man. My mother has not spoken his name in my presence since I was 9 years old. He has existed in my life as an absence, a shape cut out of family stories, a blank space where a grandfather should have been. Daniel tells me his full name was Gerald Carrington Bennett. He passed away peacefully. He left a will, properly executed and fully legal. I am named in it. Just me. Not my mother. Not Marcus. Only Eliana. He asks if I can come to his downtown office the following Thursday morning. I tell him I will be there. I hang up the phone and sit completely still for almost 5 minutes, listening to the ordinary sounds of my apartment around me. Daniel Hargrove's office is on the 14th floor of a glass building downtown. He is a tall man in his 60s with a stillness that makes every room feel organized just by him being in it. He slides a folder across the desk and lets me read before he speaks. My grandfather built a private technology manufacturing company called Bennett Advanced Systems. He grew it over 40 years from a small parts workshop into a global operation with contracts across 3 continents. The company's current value is roughly $380 million. My grandfather left me controlling shares. Majority ownership. I read the page twice. Then I look up at Daniel. He explains 2 conditions. First, I do not take formal control until I turn 25, which is 6 months away. Second, I have 1 year from the inheritance date to decide whether to reveal my ownership publicly or remain silent. My mother does not know. Marcus does not know. Nobody in my family knows. I ask Daniel for a glass of water. He pours it without a word. I sit quietly, thinking about that empty hospital chair. Then I tell him I understand the terms completely. Before I leave his office, Daniel says there is one more thing. My grandfather wanted me to know the truth about my father. I have grown up with one version of that story. Raymond Bennett left when I was 7. My mother said he chose his family business over us. She called him selfish and cold. She raised us alone and made sure we felt the weight of her sacrifice whenever she needed our gratitude. The real story is entirely different. My father did not abandon us. He left because my mother gave him an ultimatum. She discovered his family's wealth and demanded he transfer controlling shares of Bennett Advanced Systems into her name. When he refused, his father had built specific ownership conditions to prevent exactly that. She filed for divorce. She cut off all contact with his family and told us he had chosen money over his children. He had simply refused to give away something that was not his to give. I sit with that settling through me like cold water. 15 years of a story I believed without question. 15 years of a father I thought had walked away. I drive home in silence and do not speak to anyone for 2 days. My mother calls on Sunday and invites me to dinner. I go. I need to see everything with new eyes. Her house is full of people. She is hosting boosters for Marcus' scholarship campaign, local business people, a coach, parents from his former team. The house smells like pot roast. Framed photos of Marcus cover every flat surface. She greets me with a practiced hug and guides me into the living room. Then she introduces me to the group gathered there. And this is my daughter, Eliana. She's still figuring things out. Still figuring things out. I smile. I shake hands. I accept a glass of sparkling water from a passing tray. I stand in my mother's living room, still recovering from heart surgery, 6 weeks from inheriting a $380 million company, and I allow her to describe me to strangers as a woman still figuring things out. I say nothing. I eat dinner. I help clear the table. I hug her at the door when I leave. The drive home takes 20 minutes. I spend 15 of them calm. Then I park, turn off the engine, and sit in the dark. Still figuring things out. I almost smile. The week after that dinner, I make a clear decision. I apply for a junior analyst position at Bennett Advanced Systems, not under my real name. My grandfather's birth surname before he hyphenated it with Bennett was Carrington. I apply as Eliana Carrington. My degree, my academic record, my internship experience, all completely real. Only the last name changes. I receive the offer within 10 days. I take a small apartment near the office. I buy a coffee maker and 2 sets of work clothes and arrive on my first day as quietly as possible. I take careful notes. I ask good questions without making them feel like challenges. I stay late and arrive early. And I start paying close attention. The company has 4 manufacturing divisions, 2 research departments, and contracts with clients across North America and Europe. On the surface, it looks healthy. But numbers do not lie to people trained to read them. I feel a gap between what the reports show and what the actual outputs reveal. I start pulling older records. I begin cross-referencing invoices with delivery confirmations. What I find makes my stomach drop. The current CEO is Martin Galloway. He has run Bennett Advanced Systems for 7 years. Polished, confident, the kind of man who fills a room effortlessly. The board admires him. His performance reviews are flawless. He is also stealing from the company. It takes 3 months of late nights and careful work to build the complete picture. He has created a network of shell vendors, companies that exist only on paper, and routed company payments to them for services never delivered. Each transaction is small enough to avoid automatic flags. But added together, across 4 years, the total is enormous. I am thorough. I save everything. I build a precise timeline. I cross-reference bank records against financial filings I have legitimate access to as an analyst. I create an encrypted backup drive with duplicates of every piece of evidence. I do not report it yet. I am not in control yet. But I am watching. Building a case so clean and complete that when the moment comes, nobody will question a single detail. Martin Galloway does not know that the quiet analyst staying late in the corner office is the woman who will soon own his position. 3 months into my time at the company, Marcus tears his ACL. It happens at a national showcase, the biggest recruiting event of his entire season. He drives to the basket in the 3rd quarter and lands completely wrong. I see the clip in a group chat. The way he goes down. The way he stays down. His scholarships evaporate within 2 weeks. Schools that called my mother every other day go silent. The certain, loudly celebrated future disappears almost overnight. My mother falls apart. She calls me 4 times in one day, more than she called during my entire surgical recovery. She cries in a way I have never heard from her before. Not composed grief, but something raw and genuinely lost. Marcus is home, in pain, angry, and nothing like the golden boy she built her whole identity around. I listen on the phone. I say the right things. I tell her injuries do not end careers. I tell her he will recover. But I notice something I did not expect. Not satisfaction. Not relief. Just the quiet, honest recognition that for the first time in my memory, I am the steady one. The daughter she set aside is the one still standing. The medical bills arrive fast. Marcus needs ACL surgery, then months of rehabilitation, then follow-up care. The total climbs quickly into territory that strains everything my mother has. She refinances the house. She pulls from years of savings. Then she calls me. Her voice is different now. Quieter. More careful than I have ever heard it. Eliana. I don't want to burden you, but could you help? Even just a little? Whatever you can manage. I hold the phone and say nothing for a moment. The woman who told me I was strong and would manage. The woman who described me to her guests as still figuring things out. The woman who sent me a text about Marcus's 32 points while I woke up alone after heart surgery. That woman is now calling me for help. I tell her I am barely getting by. My analyst's salary covers my own expenses and not much more. I tell her I am sorry. She believes me without question. We talk for 11 more minutes. When I hang up, I sit with the weight of the conversation. Then I return to building my case. My 25th birthday falls on a Tuesday. I wear a navy suit. Single button. Good shoes. I carry my grandfather's original ownership certificates in a leather folder. I arrive at Bennett Advanced Systems headquarters 40 minutes before the board meeting and sit in the lobby with a coffee, watching the building move around me, assistants, engineers, executives going about their ordinary morning. Not one of them knows what today is. Daniel Hargrove is already inside. When all board members are seated, he stands and addresses the room. Before the agenda, there is a matter of ownership structure to formally address. I am the executor of the estate of Gerald Carrington Bennett, the company's founder. Pursuant to his final will and testament, I am pleased to introduce the new majority shareholder of Bennett Advanced Systems. He looks at me. Ms. Eliana Carrington. I stand. Martin Galloway sits 4 chairs down on the left side of the table. I watch the color drain from his face in real time, like someone slowly turning down a dial. The room goes completely still. I open my folder. I place the certificates on the table. And I begin. Martin Galloway is removed as CEO within 48 hours. I do not make speeches. I do not explain myself emotionally. I simply present the financial evidence I spent 4 months building, the shell vendors, the payment records, the timeline, the gap between reported spending and actual service delivery. I present it calmly, in the same order I built it, every document dated and sourced. The board is completely silent after I finish. Then they ask what I recommend. I tell them we engage a forensic accounting firm immediately. I tell them we notify the appropriate federal authorities. I tell them we prepare a transparent public statement for clients and partners, honest about what happened, clear about the steps being taken. The board approves all 3 motions in the same session. Forensic auditors arrive the following morning. Federal investigators begin their review the week after. Martin Galloway's attorneys send letters. I let our legal team handle them. I have already moved forward. Rebuilding what he damaged. Restructuring vendor approvals. Reviewing every active contract. I work 16-hour days and I do not feel exhausted, because for the first time in my adult life, the work I am doing belongs entirely to me. The story breaks on a Thursday evening. A financial journalist who had been tracking inconsistencies in the company's public filings connects the details after the federal notification becomes public record. By Friday morning, my name and face are on 3 news websites. By Friday afternoon, the story is on television. Eris takes control of Bennett Advanced Systems. Mystery analyst revealed as company heir. CEO removed as new majority owner exposes fraud. My mother sees the evening news. I know because my phone shows 17 missed calls from her number between 6 and 9 that Friday night. I do not answer any of them. I am sitting at my desk reviewing vendor contract revisions with a cup of tea when the 17th call comes in. I watch the screen light up. I watch it go dark. I take a sip of tea and return to the document in front of me. I feel no particular urgency. She has things she needs to say. I understand that. But I have spent 25 years being available on other people's timelines, at their convenience, in the moments when they decided I mattered. I will answer when I am ready. She arrives at my building on Saturday morning. The doorman calls up. I tell him to send her in. She looks smaller than I remember. Not physically, same height, same build, but her posture has changed. She holds her purse with both hands, the way people grip things when they need something to hold on to. When I open the door, her eyes are red and her voice begins before she is fully inside. Eliana. I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? You should have told me. I let her finish without interrupting. Then I look at her calmly and I say, because you weren't my real priority. Her own exact words. The same even tone. The silence that follows is the longest I have ever shared with my mother. She does not speak. She does not move. She stands in my doorway gripping her purse, mouth slightly open, slowly understanding what I have just done. I step back and invite her inside. I put the kettle on. We sit at my kitchen table, and she tries, at first, to do what she has always done. She begins rearranging the story. She sacrificed everything. She made hard choices. She loves both her children equally, she really does, but Marcus needed more, and I was always so capable, so clearly going to be fine on my own. I listen to all of it without interrupting. Then I tell her what I know. I tell her about my father. About the ultimatum she gave him. About the company shares he refused to hand over and the divorce she filed when he refused. About the story she built to cover the true one. Her expression shifts in a way I have never seen before. The careful structure of her version of events is breaking apart, and she knows I can see every piece of it falling. She did not expect me to have this information. She believed that part of the story was permanently sealed. How long have you known? She asks quietly. Since just after my surgery, I tell her. She looks down at the table. She sits with that for almost a full minute without saying anything. The kitchen is very quiet. I do not rush her. I just wait. Marcus comes 3 days later. Still on crutches from the ACL surgery. His jaw is set the way it gets when he is trying to look confident while actually afraid. He sits down without being asked and skips pleasantries entirely. Are you seriously going to sit there with all of this and just let us fall apart? I do not answer immediately. I get up, walk to my desk, and pick up a folder I prepared 2 days ago. I carry it back and set it in front of him. He looks at it. Then at me. Open it, I say. It is a scholarship fund contract. Not a gift. Not a bailout. A structured, merit-based award from the foundation I am creating for student-athletes who have suffered serious injuries. It covers rehabilitation, educational costs, and help re-entering competitive programs. One condition is clearly stated on page 1. It must be earned through a formal application, reviewed by an independent committee. No family exceptions. No shortcuts. I tell him I believe he can win it honestly. He stares at the folder for a long time. When he finally looks up, his jaw is no longer set tight. Something has shifted in his face. 3 months after taking control, I make 2 public announcements. The first is the Carrington Heart Initiative, a medical funding program for women under 30 who need cardiac surgery but lack family support. The application is simple. Approval is fast. The first round of funding covers surgery for 11 women across 4 states. The second announcement is the naming of a new cardiac research wing at the hospital where I had my surgery. I name it the Raymond Bennett Memorial Wing. Not my mother's name. Not the family name she kept and built herself around after the divorce. My father's name. The man she told me had chosen money over his children. The man who had simply refused to hand over something that was not his to give. The hospital sends photos of the dedication plaque. I have one printed and framed. I hang it in my office at Bennett Advanced Systems. Not at home, because this is not a personal statement. It is a correction to the public record. The record now shows something that is true. And it will stay there, permanent and visible, for as long as the wing stands. The shift in the people around me happens gradually, then all at once. Relatives who spent years asking about Marcus at family gatherings begin calling to ask about my work. Cousins who skipped past me at holiday dinners now want long conversations about the company. An aunt who once told my mother I was too serious for my own good sends a message calling me an inspiration. I read these messages. I respond politely. I do not feel bitter, but I also do not feel the warmth I might once have desperately wanted from them. I simply note the shift and keep moving. My charity gala in the fall raises significant funds for the Carrington Heart Initiative in a single evening. 400 guests attend. My mother is there. I did not invite her, but I did not block her from the list either. I see her twice during the night from across the room. Once near the bar. Once near the silent auction tables. She does not approach me. She watches people move toward me. She watches the room arrange itself around my presence. I do not perform for her. I do not look in her direction. But I know she finally understands what she gave away. The forensic audit closes 6 months after I take control. The final figure is $40 million. That is what Martin Galloway stole from this company over 4 years. $40 million moved in small, careful amounts across dozens of transactions, each too small to trigger automatic review, but together forming one of the largest private company fraud cases in the state that year. I testify in the civil proceedings. I present my evidence clearly. I do not editorialize. When the opposing attorneys try twice to rattle me with aggressive questioning, I simply wait until they finish and then answer exactly what was asked. The judge compliments the quality of my documentation. A full civil judgment comes down against Galloway and 2 co-conspirators. Federal criminal charges follow in a separate case. After the judgment, the company's stock rises sharply. Institutional investors who had been cautious issue public statements of confidence in the new leadership direction. Industry publications run profiles and analyses. The word that appears most often in the coverage is one I never chose for myself. But I have stopped being surprised by it. Untouchable. 6 months after the gala, my mother loses the house. The refinancing she took on for Marcus's medical bills, combined with losing the extra income she had counted on, makes the mortgage unsustainable. The bank moves to foreclosure. She does not tell me directly. I find out through a cousin who assumes I already know. I instruct Daniel Hargrove to watch the auction. When the house comes up, I purchase it quietly through a holding company that does not carry my name. I do not move into it. I do not renovate it for my own use. Instead, I contact 2 nonprofits, one working with single mothers in housing crisis, one supporting injured athletes in career transition. I propose converting the property into a shared transitional residence. A place where people can land while they rebuild their lives. Both organizations partner on the renovation and co-manage the property going forward. The ribbon cutting is covered by a local news station. My mother watches it on television. She calls me that evening. She does not ask why I did not return the house to her. I think, for the first time, she already knows. The house was never the point. What I did with it was. She requests a private meeting 2 weeks after the ribbon cutting. Not at my office. Not at a restaurant. She asks to come to my apartment. I say yes. She arrives exactly on time, which is different. She dresses quietly, no jewelry, flat shoes, a cardigan I recognize from years ago. She sits at my kitchen table and places both hands flat on the surface as if steadying herself against something. No tears this time. No history being carefully managed. No explanations that shade into something softer than the truth. Just 3 words. I was wrong. Not I did my best. Not I made mistakes, but you have to understand. Just those 3 words, plain and direct, with nothing attached to soften them. Then she lists the things she is sorry for. The hospital hallway. The empty chair. The years of making me feel like something she could set aside and return to later. The lie about my father. Every Sunday dinner where she introduced me as still figuring things out. I listened to all of it. I do not cry. I do not rush her. I sit quietly and I let every word reach me. Forgiveness does not mean returning to what things were before. I tell her I forgive her. I mean it fully, not as a performance, not as a doorway back to the old arrangement where her approval was oxygen and her attention was something I worked constantly to deserve. I forgive her because carrying that weight serves no one. Because she is my mother and she is human and humans get things badly wrong sometimes. But I also tell her, clearly and without apology, that the rules are different now. She does not have open access to my life the way she once believed she did. She does not get to define who I am in rooms I am not in. She does not get to manage our story to make herself more comfortable. Respect is required here. Consistency is required. Love for me is no longer something I perform for an uncertain audience. It is something I choose to give when it is met with honesty. She listens to every word. She does not argue with a single thing I say. That, more than the apology itself, tells me something may genuinely be different this time. Boundaries are clear. Access is earned. The dynamic has shifted permanently. Marcus submits his scholarship application 4 months after our conversation at my table. He uses the same online portal as every other applicant. He fills out every section completely. He provides his academic records, his injury documentation, his therapy progress reports, and a personal statement about what he has learned since his ACL tear and the certain future that vanished with one wrong landing. I do not review his file until it reaches the finalist stage. When I see his name among the 10 finalists, I recuse myself from voting on his specific candidacy and have 2 independent committee members make the final call. He wins. He calls the evening the award letters go out. His voice sounds different from every version of Marcus I have known. Not the golden boy. Not the angry young man on crutches at my table. Something quieter and more solid underneath. He says he does not want to thank me for the money. He wants to thank me for not simply handing it to him. For requiring him to earn something the right way. For treating him like a person capable of doing that. I tell him I always believed he was capable. That part is completely true. In the spring, I am asked to close the evening session at a national leadership summit. The host reads my introduction, CEO of Bennett Advanced Systems, founder of the Carrington Heart Initiative, youngest majority owner of a company this size in the region's recent history. The room applauds and I walk to the podium. I think about a hospital hallway. Words spoken in front of nurses and relatives. A text with 3 exclamation points. A chair nobody sat in. The host's final question is simple: what drives you? I let the room go completely quiet before I speak. I spent a long time trying to be someone's priority, I say. Performing for an audience that was always looking somewhere else. Auditioning for a seat I thought someone else controlled. And then something happened that made it clear that was never the right stage. The only approval that ever truly mattered was the kind I gave myself. I pause. I stopped trying to be someone's priority. And I started becoming irreplaceable. My mother is in the 4th row, clapping with everyone else. Her face holds pride and sorrow sitting quietly side by side. I receive the applause. But I no longer need it.